luck. It's just nothing but.
That's exactly right. And I'm
Yeah.
looking at my screen. I see this red box, and the red box has the word live. I'm consulting my host manual.
Mm.
Turns out we are, in fact, live. Go figure. Ladies and gentlemen, no turning back. Our guest is a brave soul, and we're going to reward him by the end of the night if he gets through this whole paid. And I'm going to ask him if he would be so kind, as if he needs to do the honors and introduce himself.
Absolutely. And like we said earlier, luck is of no consequence, man, because we are just nothing but it. My name is Devin Townsend. I am honored to be here, and thank you so much for the opportunity. If we can, I'd be surprised if we didn't make it to the end of the show, just because of the tenacity of us that we've shown thus far.
There we go. We're bonding, and it's only been 1 minute and 40 seconds. I love that. I am on the road, but I insisted that I do this show because I'm such a huge fan. Let me start out by saying a wonderful, providing you really a wonderful quote, and that quote is: "Courage is not the absence of fear; it's being truly afraid, but facing it anyway." It's an absolutely great quote, and it will serve as inspiration for me for some time to come. I
Mhm.
can relate to it. Without question, Devin Townsend has delivered his most ambitious work to date. We are celebrating this great work. And so all I can tell you, folks, is buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride. And with that, Brendan, if you would please roll the video.
Thank you, Steve. You made it very easy for me.
Oh
Dang.
man, I'm totally amped up. I don't know about you, Devin. I was amped up before the intro. Now it's like I'm cranked to 12. Why? Because it's one more than Nigel's.
Yeah, well, indeed. And I think if we're going to be playing metal, it's all about competition, man. So it's a pleasure to be here again. And I see this chat on the side here as well. I guess we can't interact with that with the keyboard, just sort of saying it out loud, right?
We
Oh,
can. Look, the only rules are your rules. Like, for example, I think it's the J-pop is saying "fucking legend." There's no filters here or nor delay, so I just said that. Uh,
awesome. Well, again,
yeah,
man, it's really cool. And I saw he got Cam's prototype. That's amazing. And somebody else says that I've taken power of attorney over their wallet over the past month, which is not my intent. So I apologize about that.
yeah.
But yeah, man, like, what's our goal here? Let's start with that. What's our objective for this?
Well, first, my objective is to ask you a few qualifying questions. First of all, where do we find you this fine evening?
I am in Vancouver, British Columbia. We are in the midst of that kind of schizophrenic part of the year where the temperature, you can't determine what you're going to be wearing past about 2 in the afternoon. You start with a
Yeah,
sweater and then you end up like in shorts.
yeah.
But no, we're Vancouver, and I've been here for much of my life, and I take a lot of inspiration from the forest and the mountains. And anytime I'm away from here, even with its quirks and foibles, I always look back. I look forward to getting back.
Well, we love Canadians, and I hope you have an affection still for us Americans.
Hmm.
And I just want to say, well, I'm not politically connected. The good news is, I understand we withdrawn the suggestion that you become the 51st state here. But there is a question: would you consider changing your name to the Canadian States of America?
I think that's a good suggestion. Let's just sleep on it for a couple of days, and we'll get
Yeah,
back to that. I,
excellent.
what's funny about the states is it's like I'm heading down there again soon because, strangely, not strangely, I've worked there so much that the majority of my closest friends live there, and it's just since everything has been so topsy turvy for everybody, I haven't had a chance to get down there. So I
Yeah.
think next month I'll be there, and I'm gonna go do the coast to coast, catch up with all my buddies I haven't seen for a while. But I've always loved the states, man.
Yeah, well, equally sending much love back. And I just want to let everyone
Thanks.
know I'm Steve Harkins, host of the Rock and Roll Channel on Talk Shop Live. Again, really honored to be here. And, I just want to say, fans, you're already on top of it. Looks like some number of you been here before. But if you want to ask Devin a question or you have a comment, just hit that chat function and we'll get to as many as possible, as long as you're not asking him to break any laws or do anything completely unreasonable. It's up to us to make that assessment. And first of all, Devin, I say this with all sincerity that, I know that in your profession, you're commonly referred to an entertainer, providing, of course, entertainment. But I have to say, during these somewhat contentious times, what you do provide is an incredibly important function, I think, now more than ever. And I think it's the one common thread that we all seem to have these days. And it doesn't matter what religious, conviction you have or political affiliation or, what country you come from. Music bonds people, it brings them together. So whether you're setting foot on stage or you're delivering a wonderful piece of music, what you do brings us together, and we need more of it.
Thank you. I mean, I think the ways that the process that I've employed for much of my career maybe differs from some of my colleagues. Is I've never really viewed music as being directly from the person who's technically creating it. I view the interactions with the world, and we all have our phones in our hands, so we're always sort of participating with this kind of collective unconscious in a sense. And I think that the role of an artist, specifically now more than any other point in history, is to just do the work.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
when people are talking about the extent of which Moth does what it's supposed to do on an emotional level, or any other thing, and then attributing that to myself or the team. I think, well, our role is just to facilitate the vision. So
Yeah.
it's like, I'm much more comfortable with being part of a team and then trying to provide something that helps rather than hinders, than viewing it as like my music or my anything, right? So thank you,
Constantly.
man.
Yeah, I'm constantly fascinated with the whole process of the creation of it. And I'll start out with asking you, when you're putting together a project, is it fair to say that you're doing it first and foremost with you in mind? In other words, you're not trying to project out to think, well, what would the fans want? Of course, you want them to embrace it and to connect with them. But does it first have to resonate with you? Is that the way you approach it? And then when you're done, you turn it over to the world and hope, you connect with them?
I think over the course of the past couple of weeks of doing interviews, I've had to actually mine my reasons for doing things to a much deeper degree than I ever really think about it, right? So forgive
Yeah,
me if I'm making things up as I go along.
that's okay. I'm making it up too, so we're even.
Perfect. Perfect,
Yeah,
man. I think the genesis of the idea, it's just a matter of being able to efficiently capture whatever the emotional vibe of that moment of creative impetus includes. By that, I mean, everywhere in the studio here, I just have pads of paper. We have
yeah,
pencils and pads everywhere. And I think about 10 years ago, the basic idea for the Moth happened in such an unromantic way. I was like, oh, it's going to be called the Moth. It's going to have this darkness and this scale where the first three quarters of it is juxtaposed by the ending. It's going to have something to do with trauma. It's going to have something to do with sex. It's going to, it's the scale. It's going to be ugly. And then after we sort of sketched that out, it was simply just sort of put aside uh, in the ways that all the ideas that are on these various sketch pads throughout the studio get put aside. And it's not that we don't clock the fact that these ideas have potential or they exist. It's
yeah,
just a lot of them are about the logistics coming together. Once they do, you can start to say, okay, of those ideas, which ones now are we able to start to actualize? But in the interim, when those ideas come, there's a real possibility that they'll not transpire into anything. So
yeah,
it's more of a matter of circumstances and a confluence of circumstances and personnel and everything, where you're like, okay, this one's up to bat now, and we can start focusing on this, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's
And yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No, no, no.
It's congratulations first of all on this incredible uh, body of work that you've created, the Moth, and I sense to some degree, even though you've really given some great background, that this process did require some incredible discipline and determination, considering the length of time. And I mean, let's start with the initial thought or the idea. Did you kind of
Mm.
frame this as, here's the big picture of what I want to create, or was it just, some ideas of, thoughts as far as some riffs or some music? I sense that you kind of went into this with the big picture.
I think that the big picture is only in terms of the parameters of the emotional content. I
Yeah,
think that if we're too stringent about what the specifics of that vision are in terms of note choices or in terms of lyrics and things like this too early in the process, I
yeah,
think you limit the opportunities that can arise just from the new personnel or the happy accidents that occur. But the
yeah,
thing that is consistent from the beginning and the way that it did start was um, what I had written down on that piece of paper was a good overview of it. But I think it's fair to say that as a creator, my subconscious is much more active than my conscious, right? And I would argue that maybe most of us are like that. My conscious mind is always occupied with drama and the what ifs and the fears and the ups and downs, and but the subconscious is the same thing that I think was able to sort of take the idea for the Moth in a general sense and present it. And then from there, by the time fast forwarding to the end of the project when we got there, yes, to answer the question, incredible amounts of discipline on behalf of myself and a huge team of which I could not have done this without.
right,
But by the time you get to the end, it's usually in the last 2 or 3 days of a process where the subconscious intent starts to reveal itself, and at that point, I always double down on how dumb I feel because I'm like, "How could I have not seen this earlier in the process?" The answer to that, I guess, is you know, I was never from a like an emotionally demonstrative upbringing. So any overt displays of emotion, specifically from somebody who feels things on a very sort of sensitive level, were
mhm,
quelled. So the loophole became music. So everything kind of got funneled into that on an emotional level, to the
yeah,
point where I think my subconscious decides things years in this situation 10 years in
yeah,
advance to my conscious mind actually understanding what my intent was, you know? I
yeah,
think I think it was we can summarize it though that Moth is it's a very basic metaphor for transformation. And I guess art imitating life, by the time the circumstances came together to the point where we could do this project, my personal life was so full of constant change and changes that I had not anticipated in any way
right,
that it just seemed to fuel it, you know?
yeah, and yeah, yeah, I had read just in some of the background on this project that in order to, fully realize kind of the direction you were going and what what your vision was, that you had to relearn musical fundamentals. And I'm wondering if you can kind of expand on that, because that had to be a real challenge for you. I mean, it's kind of like saying, okay, we're past the school years, now it's 20, 30 years back, and now we're kind of going to go back. It's like, forget everything, try to
Yeah.
become a blank slate. And how do you do that? How do you go about
Done.
that process? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of could you just ask that once more? I'm sorry. Just can
Sure.
you
Yeah.
just summarize
Yeah.
that once more?
That there was a comment that in order to kind of go down this path, particularly I think with the orchestration and the
Mm,
scoring of this, that you
mm.
had to relearn musical
Oh, right, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
fundamentals.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, the process once that moment of inception began, you know, like I say, a decade ago on that scrap of paper, the one thing about it that was sort of immutable at the time was the emotional impact that I was hoping to be left with
Yeah.
once the music was finished, in terms of specific note choices, in terms of phrases or lyrics or anything. All that is akin to like searching around a dark room for a light switch. You're sort of trying things out for size and working towards that end. And along with that initial moment of like emotional information was this real sense that in order to articulate this, the logistics of this problem of this project were going to be the most pressing.
Yeah.
So I've fortunately been able to work with orchestras over the past couple of decades. You know, we did several records and performances, and I think that anybody who's a musician, maybe from my generation, growing up on whatever Wasp and Metallica and Enya, or
Yeah.
there's sort of a thing in the '80s, at least in where I was from, where there was this kind of like ironic pride in not knowing how to do what you're doing. Like it's like I don't even know how to read music. I don't
Yeah.
even know how to change my strings, and it's like sort of a romantic sense of like I'm so musically astute that I don't even have to know the rules, which again is romantic until you're paying by the hour for an orchestra. And I
Yeah.
remember the first attempt at working with an orchestra that I did was in Prague at Smeki Studios, and we could only afford 4 hours of this orchestral, scenario. And maybe about half an hour into it, the person who had been working with me for the orchestration and the scoring and everything, there was a mistake in it, and
Yeah.
I had to try to explain to these bemused musicians
Yeah.
with English as a second language what
Yeah.
the problem was without the vocabulary to articulate where the problem was. So I had to stop the session. I had to find a guitar. I had to tune it to my stupid tuning and then try and reverse engineer what note it was that I was
Yeah.
looking for that was out of tune, and then which instrument and what the range was that they can go. When I finally realized it, the conductor's like, that's actually out of the oboe's range. We're going to have to do that in another place. Long story long, of the 4 hours that we were able to afford, I spent 45 minutes based on willing ignorance,
Yeah.
finding
Yeah.
that it was romantic to be the guy that doesn't even know. So from there, as soon as that first idea for the Moth came up and I saw sort of internally what the scale of this project was going to entail on a logistical and on a personnel and on a musical level, the first thing I did was I looked for tutors. So I found a tutor out of Denmark, Niels by Nielsen, who
Yeah.
helped me on Transcendence and Empath and a bunch of things. And he would come to Vancouver and we would go through lessons. And by this point, you got to also understand I've put out maybe 27 records by this point, all of
Right.
which self-produced and mixed. So I've got a fairly a strong sense of how to do the craft, so to speak.
Yeah.
So he's coming here and he's like, all right, put that aside. I'd like you to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on the keyboard, and I'd like you to harmonize that in the scale that is appropriate for the violas. If that is and I'm just like, dude,
Yeah.
and I didn't even know what note was on the keyboard. So this is a throwback to then. I don't know if you can see, but I had to paint.
Yes.
I had to
Yeah.
put all the notes on my keyboard because
Is that great?
you know
Love
what I
that.
mean?
I
Yeah.
love that.
And so that went on for 3 or 4 years, and it was one of the most frustrating experiences that I've had professionally, just because like anything, it's like you could say that my ability to make music at that point was akin to me being able to sprint, and then all of a sudden having somebody say, no, 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 you got to crawl. And it's like,
Yeah.
where productivity and speed were just are such a foundation of what I'm trying to achieve in terms of my creative process. It was like pulling teeth, man. But 3 years of that, I think, maybe a little bit longer. And although I didn't become adept enough at it to be able to communicate fluently, I was at least able to articulate what it was that I needed in the event that there was a problem.
Yeah.
And it became just a practical decision. At that point, you're just not wasting time, right?
Yeah. And I have to ask, I mean, did you have to go through the process of having this music scored
Mhm.
for the orchestra?
100%. We had
Yeah.
two people. We had Joseph Stevenson, who's an orchestrator out of Britain. We had Niels, who's out of Denmark. And basically, how that process tends to work is it's a fluid process. There'll be some songs where everything is sort of laid out ahead of time, and then I'll provide MIDI and I'll provide my voice singing what the choral parts are, and then the orchestrator goes through and then articulates that in a way that makes sense for the ranges of the appropriate instruments. And some people are verbatim, and other people have creative ideas that I'd be foolish to not incorporate. So, like almost every aspect of our creative process here, the foundation of it is we're trying to play. It's not supposed to be work. We're trying to enjoy this. And
Yeah.
one of the most creative ways that I've found as a leader to try and uh, get some creative juices flowing between a group of people is to set broad parameters, of which it's like, if it's past here, it's out of line. If it's past here, it's out of line. And this melody here is essential for this piece to work. And
Yeah.
this particular interval is going to cause a problem, even though it may seem obvious. Or this particular piece of music here that seems like a mistake is actually meant to be like that. But
Yeah.
once you're able to define a handful of parameters, those being examples of them, past that point, it's like, go for it, go
Yeah.
for it. Whether or not it's the drummer, the bass player, the orchestrator, the choir. If I remember, we were tracking one of the 3 or 4 choirs that we put on the Moth, and in the midst of it, the choir director turned around and said, "Hey, while we were tracking this, I just had this idea. Wouldn't it be cool if they did this little arpeggio there?" And then when they did it, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's amazing." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
to kind of have that latitude to allow people, because if you're hiring somebody to do a job, unless it's just a matter of the sheer workload is too much to be in a million places at the same time, you're looking to hire people who are better than you at the
Yeah.
tasks that you're trying to delegate. And
Sure.
if they're respectful in the ways that you're hoping for, then they'll honor what the vision is. However, if they've got other ideas, man, it's like, please, please. And on a number of occasions, Joseph did some incredible stuff. And as did Tom, who was working with the choir, as did the team here. And by allowing that, it also helps with the sense of morale that comes from producing something that
Yeah.
is frankly sort of abstract music, uh, and expensive. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
I do.
yeah.
I do. You didn't have to take out a second mortgage on your place, did you?
Well, we almost did, but
Yeah.
we're reverse engineering the problems, and it looks like by the end of the year we'll be back in the green. So,
That's I'm pulling for you. You
thank you,
deserve to
brother.
be, yeah, you deserve to be in green status. Yeah, you collaborated, as I understand, with the North Netherlands Orchestra and choir. And was this your first experience with them, or had you worked with them previously?
It was my first experience working with them directly, but we had been in contact indirectly with some mutual colleagues. So,
Yeah.
Anneke van Giersbergen, who's been singing with me for many years and is also featured on the Moth,
Right.
um, she's based in the Netherlands. And my introduction to Marcus and Claudia, who were the representatives of that organization, was actually through our management at the time, Jasper, who's in Utrecht, and Anneke, who the North Netherlands National Orchestra and Choir had done a concert with.
Okay.
So the original idea that they presented to me was not to do the Moth. The original idea was to do the same thing that they had done for several other artists who either are from the Netherlands or were traveling through there.
Yeah.
Apparently, their government has a certain surplus where part of their program, when they have time, if there's like a block that needs to be filled, is that they will interpret back catalog material from various artists and then present it with just the singer with an orchestral background, which is
Mm.
lovely. And
Yeah.
obviously, with that orchestra being one of the preeminent ones in Europe, it's a fantastic opportunity. So they had originally presented that to me after having worked with Anneke, but I immediately just said, "Well, would you consider doing this project, this orchestral heavy metal opera about dicks?" And
Didn't
because at
see
that
that
point,
coming. Yeah.
well, you see, at that point, I knew there was something to do with sex, but I didn't realize it was to do with trauma. I thought it was just like about like dicks and
Yeah.
vaginas, right? But
Yeah.
but as you can imagine, you've got this preeminent orchestra and this guy who's wild-eyed trying to explain these things to him. They said,
Yeah.
"Give us a couple of days and let's get back to you," right?
Yeah.
So at this point, it was in my head. It was still sort of a concept, and they came back a couple of days. I said, "Listen, we only have a few days. We can do these performances. if you want to do this, we will do it, but we have to have the scores delivered by this point. We have to have the choirs delivered by this point, and this should be the day that you film/record and do the concert. And so immediately, not even a second thought, I was like, thank you. Yes, absolutely. And then they left, and I was like, oh shit. you know,
Yeah.
now what do we do, right? And
Yeah,
then it became real, right? Then it was just
for sure.
it's just you're running a marathon while screaming.
I love it. I love how you said, just give us a couple of days. Me, I would have panicked, said, hold that thought, which would have been the wrong choice of words.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think that there's a difference. There's a subtle distinction between confidence and naivety, and I'm straddling that line at the whole way along, man.
I just want to first thank all the fans for being here and all their passion, and let them know that tonight we're celebrating the brilliant forthcoming album project from Devin Townsend. Of course, it's entitled "The Moth." It's truly Devin's most ambitious work to date, an immersive orchestral, choral, and theatrical project over a decade in the making, as you heard. The project is being released on Friday, May 29th. However, Talk Shop Live fans can purchase their copies right here, right now. It's available on CD and vinyl, but selling out fast. We may have sold out of the signed vinyl, and that's what I wanted to mention. He has graciously agreed to sign a limited number of copies. So you're not only going to get this brilliant body of music, but you're going to get an heirloom that you'll pass on from generation to generation of this brilliant piece of music. So to order your copy, hit the shop button on Talk Shop Live. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, comment the word shop. We'll send you a link. Just click that. Or if you're watching this through YouTube, just click the link in the description. And truly, there's no greater way to show how much you appreciate this brilliant musician, his body of work, than by owning it. Owning and consumption often can be through streaming, but this warrants adding it to your collection, no questions asked. Hey, let's go to some of the fans, that are just so appreciative, of what you do, if that's okay.
Absolutely. And I'd just like to say before we go, I'm looking at these pictures that you got going up, and I've been doing this now maybe 38 years professionally,
Yes.
like, touring albums, whatever. And clearly, when I see these photos of me, I've run out of photo faces because
Yeah.
it's like, it's like blue steel, except when you're in your 50s, man. It just looks like you got a lemon in your mouth.
Yeah, don't trust me. When you get to be my age, you can't even shape or form faces. They just kind of happen, but uncontrollably. So at least be happy. Be happy that you have that functionality.
I'm happy now. It's trepidatious about the future, though, but I'll take it.
No, the future's bright. Trust me.
Yep,
You'll work through it.
I'll take
Uh,
it.
this is a hey Dev. I got your Cam's prototype, and this is
Yeah.
so you're familiar with that, of course.
Yeah, so Cam, he was in when I was growing up in Vancouver, the scene that we had in Vancouver of metal bands when strapping was first starting, we were just, it's like every scene. There's like 5 or 6 bands, and everybody's kind of in each other's pockets at the whole time. And then when Gene Hoglan moved to Vancouver, he became the drummer for all of them, and we
Yeah,
were all just kind of like connected. There's like Zimmer's Hole and Punch Drunk and Strapping and all these bands, right? The Kill
yeah.
and Caustic Thought, and Cam has been a buddy of mine for many years, and he was an influence on me as a guitar player. But his wife's now got cancer,
Oh
and
no.
he's gone through a lot, and he's having problems working, and so Kiesel very graciously had made me a prototype of a guitar they released at NAMM that was like a throwback to the Infinity Telecaster. So
Nice.
we put that up as an auction to help Cam, and I guess he bought it. So thank you, brother.
That's awesome. Yeah. And is there any other way that people can help at all, or I mean, is there
I
a direction or somewhere you can point them to?
Yeah, in fact, I don't know the information of what Cam's Facebook is, but we'll talk to the team after and see if we can just post a secondary link that if anybody wants to contribute and help him out, I mean, it would be incredibly appreciated, of course.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yeah, Stratman 5150 says can't wait for the new album. Vernon Bear saying greeting humans. drinking average coffee here in New England. I'd say up your game
Yes.
and drink something that's a little more. Isn't it? It's got to be. Well, it's past happy hour out there, so you can't have a
Nope,
Guinness.
4:35, man.
Yeah,
It's like I think it depends on which hour you're being happy. Are you either the 4:20 happy or the 5 o'clock happy, right? But
that's exactly right. I would say it's happy hour somewhere, but
yeah, but either way, it's Wednesday in Vancouver, so it's like we're still
yeah,
working, man.
exactly. Yeah, Jackson 12 is just saying, hey, what's up, Dev? So happy that you're here. Same with Abby Normal. Uh, and
Oh, a young Frankenstein reference. You don't say.
exactly right.
Mm.
And let's see here, Brian D saying, "Hey Dev, good to see you on here. What does one have to do to get a walkthrough of the settings on that GP 100 back there? This is a good
Ah,
opportunity for you to make some extra cash to
oh,
contribute towards that minor debt that you
dude.
picked up on the project.
It's a major one, but it's
Yeah,
also
major.
but
Sorry.
I'm an awful salesman. So I'll just tell you what it is. You don't have to buy anything.
Or you can let me insert, what I think the value is, and that way you can blame it on me.
Or you could be like a buffer between you, just like, listen,
I'm happy.
guys, before you
Yes,
speak,
that's
right?
my job. That's why I'm here.
Well, here, how about I give a teaser? That way we can kind of keep everybody happy, right?
Love it. Okay.
Basically, it's a high gain Marshall style amp with not a lot of low end on it and a gain boost in front of it. That's followed by a ping pong delay that
Yeah.
basically goes 2 and 400 with about 70% repeat. There's a high end boost that we put on it, anywhere from about 6 to 12K. You just kind of give that, and then you end it with a 10-second reverb. And then you just try and EQ it so that it sits apart from the heavy guitar. So you basically, if you're tracking with that, you could use a fractal, you could use Kemper, you could use a Helix, anything. You would create 2 tracks in your DAW. You would create a mono one where you would have a dry signal like a rectifier or a 5150. And then
Yeah.
the second one is a stereo version of that where you put that in at 100%. So there's no dry in that signal. And the mixture between them just gives you a sense of depth that, although there's certain idiosyncrasies with that GP 100, that
Hmm.
recipe I just gave you will get you 80% of the way there. What do you think? Is
That's.
that should we charge for that, or should we just say gratis?
I think it's too late. You just gave it away. I can't go back.
Nice,
You're like,
dude.
yeah,
How we
it's all
party?
good. No, man, it's outstanding. I know. I think you teased them up. There's more where that came from.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
man.
and you know what? You're such a generous person. I would have, probably just provided 50% of that information. But that's just me.
Oh,
But that's
dude,
the kind of man you are.
they were all just gonna die. So fuck it. You know what I mean? It's like
Exactly. What's the point? Yeah.
for real. It's like eventually we're out of here, right? And it's like if
Yeah.
what we're holding on to are in hopes that that is going to change our bottom line to a phenomenal degree. I'm always hesitant when everything gets monetized. It's
Yeah.
like I remember years ago, and this is no criticism of the labels or management or anything, because they've both of the Inside Out, Northern Music has put me in a position where I'm able to do what I want for a living, and I'm so grateful.
Right.
However, in the past, I was always very much like, I just want to give it away. And
Yeah.
they're like, well, you can't give away anything. I said, no, well, for sure I can give away some of it because it's not that important to me. And by being able to sort of consistently feed a demographic with things that are creatively compelling to me, it's more fun. So we started the Patreon. So if you are interested in supporting what I do, the Patreon, Devin Townsend, is where we
Yeah.
do that. And on that, it's sort of a win-win for me because I just put out tons of stuff. We put out like I made a record bespoke for it or in January, and we did a Christmas album, and so it's like sort of a win-win in a sense where there's a bit of money that comes in, but it allows me a forum to just vomit music as it comes out. I write very quickly, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. Appreciate you sharing that. It's a great way for people to support
Thank you,
your creativity. Absolutely.
and
And
thank you anybody who's on it.
yes, by all means. And those that will be on it, encourage you to
Yay!
do that. Yeah. So listen, what were your thoughts when you hit the send button, for the production, the manufacturing process, where it's like, okay, you can't hit recall, it's like it was mine. Now I'm turning it over to the world. did you have that moment where it's like, oh wait, I wish I could have that back? That was just like this one spot on this particular track now, and why did I hit that send button? Or were you just like, you know what? Okay, that's it. We're done. I only ask that because it's not like you knocked this out in 3 months. You spent an enormous amount of time. And, obviously you're, really meticulous in making sure that this was right. So I'm just curious what your thoughts were once you turned it over to the world.
Well, I'm fortunate that I have an incredible team. So it
Yeah.
wasn't just me that was like, eating shit at the end of it, man. We were all like, we were all overtired and overworked. But again, it's like if the quality of the people that surround me at this point in my career is any indication of the direction that we're going, we're doing okay. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah,
So I have to
absolutely.
give credit to everybody who was involved with that. And then frankly, this is the process. I was so fucked up by just the whole experience of it and like the stress of it and this, the weird kind of like anxiety filled dopamine hits that come from just like constant adrenaline that it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this isn't going to work, or we're running out of this isn't in time, or that's screwed up, or where'd that hard drive go, or whatever.
Right.
That we finished it, we mastered it, we got a bit of an extension. The rest of the guys in the team went through and got all the artwork finished, sent it off to the label. I listened to it in the bathtub from beginning to end, and
Well,
I got to the point where there's always going to be things that you're just like, oh, this could be different, or that could be louder or quieter. Well, there always is. If you get it right, there's no reason to make another one.
yeah, right.
But once I had the experience where it confirmed to me in that moment that the moment of creative impetus that I spoke of 10 years ago on that piece of paper, and that broad kind of perspective of what it was meant to achieve emotionally, once I recognized that it hit that mark, it was like a really powerful moment for me. It like really, like, it made me cry, and I was like really like just exhausted after listening to it. And then I booked a ticket to Thailand the next day, and I fucked off for 2 months.
I love that.
Yeah, man.
I
And it
love
was
that.
like,
That's great.
well, it was like, and then left the rest of the team to pick up the pieces, regrettably. But I think it's like,
They're all going, hey, why didn't he take us to Thailand as well? It's like,
they're
what's
like,
up with
excuse
that?
me? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. But
Yeah.
I think it's like, everybody fills different roles, of course. And by the time I had done the things that were, essential for me to do,
Right.
I was so beat up by the process. There was extenuating circumstances on a personal level as well that aren't worth getting into, but it's like a confluence of things that just was like, I was just so done. So we
Yeah.
delivered it. I sent
Yeah.
it off. I confirmed it messed me up. And then I just went and sat on a beach and ate food for $1.50 a day in the middle of nowhere, and was still messed up, but it was at least
Yeah.
warm.
Yeah. You had that going for you for sure.
I had
Yeah.
a thought. May I just say something as we're talking?
It's no rules except yours, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. I always go back to the idea with the moth, and I had used this analogy at one point. So forgive me, anybody who's heard it before, but there was a story I remember hearing when I was a kid about nail soup. Did you ever hear that?
No.
So essentially, the story goes: a guy's starving, and
Yeah.
he comes into town, and all he has is a pot and a nail, and
Right.
he's starving. So he just sets up the pot in the middle of the town, lights the fire. For some reason, he's got a match, and he puts the nail in with water and starts boiling it. And people come by, and they're like, "Well, what are you making?" He says, "I'm making nail soup." And they're like, "Well, what's in it?" It's just that, it's nail and water. And they're like, "Well, you can't just have nail and water. You got to have some spices in there." So they come back and put spices in it. Somebody else comes by and like, "What are you making?" "Nail soup." "What's in it?" "Spices, nail, and water." "Well, you can't just have that. You got to put some vegetables in it." So
Right.
by the end of it, you got meat. It's got this stew. It's this beautiful thing. And then everybody's like, "Wow, I had no idea that all it took to make a delicious meal was a nail."
I love that.
In this
It,
sense, that's
yeah.
kind of the process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The other takeaway for me is that I'm grateful that he had the common sense not to put the match in the soup as well.
Well, it was a full box. I went through 3 matches before I figured
For
it
the
out.
record,
Yeah, man.
those things will happen for sure. Hey,
Yeah.
Devin, I feel like we can talk about this album top to bottom and spend hours doing it, but nothing does it more justice than sharing some of it. So, are you okay if we share some music with the fans?
Absolutely, man. And before we do,
Yeah.
we can only play the 2 songs that have already been released.
Yes.
We finished the video for the 3rd one today, so we'll go over the ones that we've released and potentially the orchestral versions as well. Apologies to those who have heard it before. And the music itself, as I'm sure you would attest if you're listening to this, it's not a linear piece of music. It's not like there's 12 songs and this is a chorus and this is the next one. The
Yeah.
idea of every record in that moment of original creative impetus is to be like, well, what's the aesthetic of it as well? And in a sense, what we were hoping to achieve with this was like audio cinema in a way.
Yeah.
So when you put on headphones, you're in a dark room or whatever, and you can let your mind sort of paint the pictures for you, right? So,
Yeah. 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 Way to frame it for sure. I'm giving Brendan heads up and ask him to queue up Home at Night. So let's hear some of this brilliant work from Devin Townsend, again, from the upcoming album entitled The Moth, which is coming out the end of the month. Here is Home at Night. And Brendan, if you would, please roll the digital.
Opera Man.
Yes.
Nice fade, man. Hey, can I show you something? Can I show you something real quick?
Absolutely, you can.
Okay, so this is where we got the inspiration for that video, because obviously we got like a limited budget to do these things. So they were like, well, what do you want to do for this one song that is like kind of unlike the rest of the record? And I don't know if you've ever seen this video, but this is where the inspiration for this video came from.
Look at that.
No way, here he comes. This is where it starts. Wait, this guy. Come on, buddy. There he is. Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at that. That's great.
It's called the Trololo song.
Oh my gosh.
So that is
so great.
So when we put the video up, people are like, oh man, it seems like it looks like something done in the 70s. I was like, yeah, we took it from this like obscure Russian Trololo song.
I don't know if you should have played that for us. I was taking your version very seriously. You were very expressive. I had no idea you had a set of pipes on you like that.
Well, it's like another thing. I will say this in all honesty. Yeah. I think one of the foundational parts of the Moth, and one of the main reasons we made the cover as just my face as it was, is for many years, I think, for whatever reason, either being a people pleaser or insecure or like a low self worth or whatever, if I had an idea that was left of center
Yeah.
or abstract in a way that doesn't fit into whatever the current scene allows, I was guilty in the past sometimes of just not doing it for fear of being seen as like, crazy or goofy or whatever. And it wasn't until recently I was like, oh, people already think that. Who am I trying to kid? So at that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
it was really about the distinction between what is perceived as being, say, crazy or imbalanced
Yeah.
versus what defines creative freedom. And I think that distinction is a really important one to fight for. Because
Great.
in the past I would do things that were like leftist ziltoid or whatever, and then people
Yeah.
are like, well, I don't get it, therefore there's something wrong with you or whatever. And then I didn't realize until over the past couple of years, I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm letting the opinions of people who I don't know, who don't
Right.
understand the intent of what I'm trying to do here, affect my work in a
Right.
sense. It's like it doesn't seem to be logical
And,
after a
uh,
certain point. So just sinking into the person that I am was almost, aside from the transformational sort of metaphor, like the whole point of the Moth. It's like, no, this is me. This is what I do, right?
yeah, I think wise of you too. And I know it can cut deep when one person makes comments like that. But again, not speaking for the masses either.
Well,
So
it hurts even more when like I don't read the YouTube comments or anything anymore, right? It's like
yeah,
but it hurts even more when they're right. You know what I mean?
yeah, I
It's like
do.
somebody reads it, like you read a comment, you're like, oh, you heard that, did he? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah. You're better off just doing what you do best, and that's
Well, this
not
is it,
reading those comments.
dude.
Yeah,
That's it. I remember that Calvin and Hobbes comic years ago where Calvin's wearing sunglasses and Hobbes like, why are you wearing those? He says, well, it makes me look cool. And so
yeah,
Hobbes comes back with a sombrero, and he's
yeah,
like, what are you wearing a sombrero for? And he's like, well, I thought it made me look cool. He says, you don't look cool. You look like an idiot.
yeah.
And
Right.
he says, well, I don't want to be a part of a club where I can't wear a sombrero. So, I
That's
mean,
great.
I go back to that. It's like
Yeah,
if people don't like you as an artist, I'm not talking about myself, but anybody who's listening, if they don't like you as an artist because you're being yourself,
yeah.
then you know what?
Move on.
And yeah,
Yeah, move on. Yeah, absolutely. Do you think there will be any possibility this ambitious work will see its way to some form of live performance, whether it's a one-off or?
I'm gonna do this. Like, check this out. Bam. All right. So there was 2 shows last year.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah, so we did it at Groningen when we recorded the orchestra and choir. So we just changed timelines because there wasn't
Yeah,
live shows prior to this, but we just
yeah,
changed timelines there. So
yeah.
in Groningen last year, when we tracked the orchestra and choir, it was all contingent on doing this live performance. So if you go online, there's clips of it. But if you get these deluxe, if you get the new deluxe sham wow, no, if you get the deluxe version, we remastered and remixed the live show, and it's really with the full orchestra, full choir, performances, and all that on a budget. But the reason why I say that is because it acts almost like a demo and a litmus test for whether or
Yeah,
not this would be something that would be worth seeing. And I
sure.
would say, and I said this in interviews earlier today, the world's in such a state right now, as we all know,
Yeah,
that, and as an artist, what the input in my life is going to be reflected in the output. So it's no surprise that this is chaotic music. That being said, is chaotic music going to resonate with people at this point in history, to the point where the work and the expense that goes into presenting this in the ways that we want it to be presented is going to be viable? I don't know yet. So what we've chosen to do is say to the audience and the agents and the venues and the industry that gives a shit about what I do, even
right.
to the slightest degree, if this is something that people want to see live, we have a story, we have the band, we've got the performers, we've got like visions for all sorts of things, and we can absolutely and would love to do that. However, if it isn't congruent with what people are looking for right now, I got 5 other things I'm working on.
Yeah. So it's a win-win. But yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, having had the ability to listen to this top to bottom, there's emotion and energy, and the usage of the melody lines, and how it weaves in and out, as opposed to just kind of standard rock writing, if you will, where there's abrupt changes, but it still works, and
Thank you.
it's so powerful. I can only imagine what the experience would be like in a live setting.
Well, I would say this as well. Thank you, by the way, for all these wonderful comments. I really appreciate it. It's very kind of you. Uh, the thing that we've got going for us with this team of people, either at HDR or with the band or with the orchestra or the conductor, everybody has found solidarity in how difficult it was to do these things.
Right.
But I think overwhelmingly, the thing that we all share is like awe. It's like
Yeah. Right.
there's no mission, there's no message. This is an observation about two things. One, just the incredible nature of being a human being. And it's like constantly, you look up at the sky, you look at a plant, it's like the awe of nature and the universe and just reality is the foundation for where any power comes from, because it's
Yeah.
beyond any of us, right?
That's absolutely
Um,
right.
and so the music becomes a tangible expression of gratitude at that point.
Yeah.
Um, and there was certain moments during the putting together of this project where certain team members had uh, postulated that we should have a moral, like it should end with like some sort of statement, like, and that's why you never lie or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Wrap it up in a bow.
it's like the second thing, as I had mentioned a second ago, that I wanted to say is it's just the unending stupidity of the species, including myself and everybody involved. And not to say that we're like irretrievable idiots, but like look at the species, man. It's like our emotional capacity has not developed in line with our technological capacity, and therefore it's like we're just flawed in so many ways.
Yeah.
So with the advent of AI and everything that kind of threatens, uh, uh, the nature of humanity on some level, the thing that again drew us together and made this project, not only in terms of like the awe of it all, so important, is just like working together, conflict resolution, being part of a team, being able to like solve problems, constantly put out fires. These are indicators of relationships, and
Right.
the amount of people involved with this, hundreds of people, those relationships are paramount to morale. So moving forward with any of this, it became a real human exercise, and if there's anything about it that I'm proud of, it's that, right?
I love that. Yeah, truly. I mean, the gospel according to Devin Townsend, man, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm totally on board with you. Really well said. Absolutely.
I
And
Man, if it's a gospel, we're all fucked, man. Because I think that also somebody was talking earlier about the idea of like actualizing oneself or
yeah,
realizing one's nature in and they were speaking of it in the way that implied that it was a goal. Like
yeah,
once you get to
right,
the point where you're able to accept yourself or have some degree of self-compassion, then that's it. You're good. You're
yeah,
enlightened or whatever, right?
right.
But dude, I feel like step one of how many infinite thousands of steps to get to the point where you're truly
Yeah,
at peace in your heart. But if you're moving forward, I firmly believe that accepting yourself, including your quirks and foibles, not acting on the things that are negative about you, but at
yeah,
least being able to recognize and have some degree of compassion for the ways that our trauma has affected our decisions throughout our life, allows us to take another step. So
yeah.
again, there's no mission, there's no message, there's no gospel, there's nothing. It's an observation. Okay, here's how we define it. It's a story about the meaning of life written by a bunch of people who have no clue.
Yeah, that does kind of sum up many of us too, by
Yeah,
the way.
I
So
agree.
you're yeah, completely. However,
100%.
I want everyone to understand. Having
Mhm.
said that, tonight we are celebrating this brilliant forthcoming album project
Thank
from
you.
the one and only Devin Townsend, entitled "The Moth." Again, it's an incredibly ambitious work to date, and it's a brilliant piece of work, flat out. Immersive, orchestral, and choral and theatrical project over a decade in the making. The project is being released on Friday, May 29th. However, Talk Shop Live fans can purchase their copies right here, right now. And Devin has graciously agreed to autograph a limited number of copies. So to get yours, you hit on the Talk Shop Live, hit the shop button. For those of you that are on Instagram and Facebook, comment the word shop. We'll DM you a link. Just click it. The rest is quick and easy. And if you're watching this on YouTube, just click the link in the description. And there's no greater way to show how much you appreciate the man and just in general, just great creative music and messaging than by owning a copy of this incredible work, The Moth. So, we've hit the bewitching hour. I can't believe it, Devin. It's flown by, and you haven't, hit the eject button and departed. So I feel like that was a huge victory on my part. But are there some last words?
Yeah, I just got to write down this idea: ejeculation. I thought that would be a good, that'd be a good
There you
name
go.
for a song. Ejeculation. Yeah. Yeah, I feel that the support that has been shown by folks like yourself, and more than anything else, the audience is just so, it's just so humbling, right? It's like I love
Yeah,
doing what I do, and my objective is to continue going. I'm not looking for like super success or fame or anything. I just want to keep doing my work.
yeah,
This is again, in my ShamWow moment before we conclude. We started a Patreon, DVN Townsend, and if you're interested in supporting what we do, we just put up constant amounts of new material and live streams and concerts and things like that. So if you're really looking to directly affect what we're trying to do as an organization here with Heavy Devi Records, that's also a way to look at it. But conversely, if you don't have any money, it's all on YouTube. It's all on Spotify. Just listen to it.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. There are options, yeah, for sure. And
Totally.
listen, I want to thank all the fans for taking the time out to show how much you appreciate this brilliant man, and also to the fine folks at Inside Out Music that allow Devin the forum, and also for helping to support Talk Shop Live by paving the way for him to come on board here, and also to our good friend Jake Anderson and everyone at the Orchard, and to Brian, Sandy, Tina, Brad, Kathy, Joe, Marty, Kate, Jenny, Brendan, and Sam. Brendan was behind the boards working his magic. Everyone at Talk Shop Live, and most importantly to Devin Townsend for continuing to share these wonderful works with us. It's what the world absolutely needs.
Thank you.
And then from that, I just want to remind everyone: pick up a copy of The Moth. You'll absolutely keep coming back to it. Music is a wonderful gift, and the arts. It's important that we enjoy them, especially in this day and age. And with that, Devin, I can't thank you enough for being here. I truly enjoyed it, and I hope we get to do this again. And congratulations on this great piece of work.
It's absolutely my pleasure, and your support is invaluable. And I think from myself and the community and everybody involved with it, I think now is the time more than any time in history to sort of find solidarity between people. So,
Yeah,
this isn't the time to sort of, with the depression, with the apathy that it just seems to be so unavoidable. It requires us to fight, man. And it's
that's
like,
right.
and it's not about fighting on an external level. It's like fight the apathy within. Like it's like I went through a depressive period over the past couple of years, but had I not been surrounded by the people that I was surrounded by, I don't know if I would have gotten out of it. So that's why community is so important, and this is another example of it. So thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. And look forward to doing it again in the near future. And with that, everyone, before you hit the ejaculation button, uh,
Somebody wrote
uh,
up here ejaculator too, which I thought was good.
there we go, man. I feel a T-shirt coming as well. So
Yeah.
we're gonna listen to one last track, and with that, everyone, stay safe, enjoy life. So long, everybody.